Welcome to Spotlight on Lakewood. I'm Mayor Adam Paul. Today we're out in the community at one of our elementary schools that has just been awarded for the third time a very prestigious Blue Ribbon honor. I'm at Dennison Elementary and I'm joined by Principal Pamela Yoder and Instructional Coach Robin Wheatley. Thank you for having us out here today.
You're welcome.
Yeah, this is a great opportunity. So tell us a little bit about Dennison and what makes Dennison unique.
Dennison is unique in a number of ways, but our first quality that I think we look at is the fact we are an option school, and that makes us unique within Jefferson County. There's a few of us, but we were started in the early 1970s, and not only is it unique that we were granted an option status, but that means that we've been able to be autonomous in deciding what our curriculum and our model for instruction will be. And going forward, that autonomy has allowed us to keep that with all of the changes in education, all the reforms that have been going around. We've been able to continue to hold to our model. And what that really is and what makes us unique is we are based on a whole group instruction model. So all kids are in the classroom getting grade level instruction at all time. And we know and believe that they can achieve that. We are textbook based, so our curriculum is connected to state standards, but we use textbooks for that. And then we are committed to foundational skills and then mastery of content. So those are the prime ingredients that we continue to focus on, and no matter what is happening in education, we can match ourselves to many of the newer way of some thinking, but that's our grounding.
But you always have that foundation that you get set in stone, and then you can adapt, but you always have the foundational background to go to.
Absolutely.
Yep. And to piggyback onto what Pam said, so again, it's teaching the fundamentals is core to our beliefs, and that's why I wanted to come here as a teacher. But I also think the ability to set high expectations, not just academic, but behaviorally. So, you know, throughout the community, we have an agreed upon set of expectations, not just for students, but for staff and for parents. And we come together and create a great team. I would say the other thing that makes us unique is we have what I consider unparalleled parent support. I haven't been in another school or taught in another school where we have this level of support with parent time, but also some of our parent groups that are able to get some resources for us and raise money for us. It has made it so we can do what we do well.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, and it looks like you were started in the early 70s. And it looks like it could be still the same building and not a lot of change, right?
Yes, right. Exactly. In fact, when my kids were here in the 90s and now have returned since I've been hired, they just laugh and say, oh, I was in that class. It looks the same.
Well, some of our viewers might recognize this, might be very familiar to them. So what are some of the challenges that you see, also some of the successes?
I see challenges and successes hand in hand. And when I think about the successful piece to build on what Robin just said is that we call it the three-legged stool. We have our parent community, we have our staff, and we have our kids, and all have to work together for the success. We do know that it is a changing society since the 70s, and our school was started on that premise of having the three-legged stool. So parents finding the time and being able to craft the opportunities that come in for volunteer work. We know that kids are just different in society, and so our model was really started based on very compliant children that came in the 70s, and we have real kids here. So the fact that we hold the high standards and expectations that all kids, parents, and teachers embrace in the philosophy leads to success, but I think we sometimes have to do a little work on the fact that our kids are different. Every school wrestles with what does that mean. And then how do we not give up on any parts of our model, but continue to use the expectations of ways to lift kids up to that.
Yeah, set those goals for them to achieve. I wouldn't consider myself a compliant child, so I'm not sure I would have been a fit for Dennison.
No. Well, and to add to the, you know, from a teacher's perspective, the student achievement that we're able to achieve across all student groups, and I'm not talking about test scores are great, but that's not before test scores were really even a thing. We had certain benchmarks, and the ability to have to support these kids so they can achieve those benchmarks really across almost all student groups is one of our big successes. But while still valuing the whole child. So we still strive, just like any other school, to value those other parts of the child that aren't at school. Maybe they're great soccer players, maybe they're great musicians. I'd say challenge-wise, this has never changed throughout education, but it's the unique needs of all the students. For any teacher is an amazing and it's a significant challenge. And I guess the other thing here that would be unique to Dennison would be because of the type of environment we have and because of the type of community we have, sometimes the kids are under a lot of pressure or can be. So we really work hard and are continuing to work hard on how to help them manage that stress and make sure there's not too much stress because student achievement can't be the only goal. It has to be about well-being also.
Yeah.
So it's a huge, especially these days, I think it's worse now because even their sports are very stressful.
Yeah.
So it's helping them manage that.
Well, and you're right, it's changed so much. You mentioned sports. I think when we were growing up, you played a bunch of different sports. And now kids are really just getting specialized, and even in music and different things, getting so specialized so early on.
Right.
And on that trajectory, it's really interesting, and I'm sure that can produce a lot of pressure.
Oh, right, definitely.
Yeah. So we mentioned the Blue Ribbon Award, and that is given by the United States Department of Education.
Correct.
And Dennison Elementary is the only school in all of Colorado to receive it 3 times.
Correct.
So hats off to you and your staff and your parents and your students. Talk to us about what that means and what does that entail? What does that look like to achieve that?
Well, the United States Department of Ed has a set of guidelines in terms of being able to even be nominated. And so they work with our state Department of Education. So with CDE, we sit down and go through a number of requirements that they have. Some of it's test scores, some of it's culture. And then what they're looking for is 2 categories. There's a group of schools that are the high achieving schools that have been able to maintain that over time. Then they have another category of schools that are like title schools that really struggle but continue to make growth.
Yeah.
And so we've been honored for 3 years, or 3 different times over maybe 21 years time frame, because you're only eligible every 7 years to be nominated and then chosen to go forward. And what that really means to our community is staff doesn't live on the accolades of, we're a Blue Ribbon school. Parents look for that and obviously want to know what goes into that, and that attributes to a lot of our wait list when people are coming to sign up. But I think what staff looks at is a way to hold our standards high and be proud of who we are and say our model works. And so again, when we think of education swinging over all the decades of reform, and how do we look at that? And we wrestle with reform and what we do know works in education, but how does that continue to come back to who we are and we can stay grounded in that while still making some shifts?
Well, that's great. Again, congratulations. How fun.
Thank you. And I agree with Pam. I think, we're very proud of receiving the Blue Ribbon because it's obviously an honor, but speaking from a teacher staff perspective, it's not something we fixate on, and we really believe in what we do, so we would continue doing this whether we receive the Blue Ribbon or not. But it is a nice, obviously we're very honored to receive it. So.
You're a magnet school, so you're going to have parents that are drawn here for their children's education. Do you experience the same with teachers, where you have teachers that really want to be a part of this culture and curriculum?
What we do here, this model, is really something that used to be done. But if you're coming through like any kind of undergraduate, graduate program now, it's not what they're typically teaching. It's typically ability-based grouping, which we don't do. So it is just like anything, either if you're picking a school for your child or a company to work for in business, you're picking a place that you feel that your core beliefs align with that organization. So I definitely think the teachers that come here, they have to believe in the whole class instruction model. They have to believe in using textbooks and adhering to the curriculum. And to be honest, they have to be held to a high degree of collaboration, because when you walk from one classroom to another, one first grade to another first grade, you're expecting that all the students are receiving the same instruction, not necessarily always in the exact same way, but you're agreeing that yes, we're a team and we're going to be aligned. So definitely, and this is why I came here. I sat in a classroom as a parent, I was a volunteer, And I remember watching the kindergarten teacher who's no longer here and thinking, this is where I want to teach.
Yeah, that's
So,
great.
Yeah.
Well, we really appreciate teachers, and it's such a challenging job and always changing, and we're always in need, and I think teachers can go from caregivers to sometimes being the parent figure. It's a whole gamut. It's just not having a little one come in one day and then leave at 3. It goes way beyond that. So what does it take? What are some of the skills that you're seeing in some of our great teachers these days?
Well, I'm going to have Robin speak to the skill sets, but what I just want to say as far as this is an incredibly dedicated group of teachers. Many of our staff have been here for quite a few years, and it's not about going stale. It's they love what they do, and they love the kids, and they stay on top of things with instruction. So that dedication and commitment, and truly that is a success of Dennison, not only our teachers, but you have to buy into our philosophy if you're going to make it work here.
Well, thanks again for having us out here today, and congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Thank you for all the good work, and sometimes it's very thankless, so thank your staff. I want to actually thank all of our great teachers in Jefferson County.
Yes.
They do such wonderful things, and they're really building our future generations.
Absolutely.
Yeah, sure.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, all right. I hope you enjoyed this edition. We heard a little bit about what foundation makes a great school, and really what makes a great school is what makes a great community. And so we are intertwined together, and if schools are great, it's going to mean our community is great. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and remember, together we'll do great things.